very confidentially. Ain't she sweet? Ain't she nice? Look her over once or twice now and she said confidentially. Ain't she nice? Just cast an eye in her direction. Oh, me, oh, my. Ain't that perfection? Gonna do this. I repeat. To take him out. Don't you think she's neat and as you very confidentially? Ain't she sweet? And I in that direction, Papa and think that guy for to ask. Take it, baby. I believe them fine things, but not now. You take me, I'm being confidentially. Ain't she sweet?
Oh, do 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 do. Do 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 do.
cats in the ballroom stop. Just look at that style and grace. How that gal keeps up that pace. Now I'm living like living with Linda Hop. You won't even stop if you call the cops. Just look at the twinkle in her eyes. Ah, how that cat quibbles right inside. Now I'm living like living with Linda Hop. Thank God that you won't stop. Look at him go out, bring her in. Now the way them cats dance is a trend. call. Yeah. Come on, boys, let's have a ball. Jim, Jim, jump is the jumping jive. Makes you dig your jive on the mellow side. Hep, hep. Hep, hep. Jim, Jim, jump is the solid jive. Makes you 9 foot tall when you 4 foot 5. Hep, hep. Hep, hep. Now don't you be that ickle-roo, get hip. Come on and follow through. Then you get to steady fool. You make the joint jump like the gators do. The jam jam jump, you're in on your side. Hep, hep. Hep, hep. The jim jam jumping jive makes you hep, hep on the middle side. Hep, hep. Hep, hep. Hep, hep. The dimmer jumper is the jumper he's time to make you dig your time on the middle side. The dimmer jumper is the solid time to make you 9 foot taller when you're 4 foot 5. Don't you be that ickle-roo, get hip. Come on and follow through. Then you get this steady move. You make a joint jump like gators do. The jim jam jumper is the jumping jive makes you like your ass on the side. The jim jam jumping jive makes you hep hep on the other side. Going to that. Now told you about the jumping jive. Jim jam jump the jumping jive. I know you dug this mellow jive. Boom, you dig it on the mellow side.
I can sing and I can jam. I'm still a delight, yes I am. When you learn it, you'll be proud. Join the crowd and swing out loud. Some folks say that they won't stay and it's dying out. But I can prove it's in the groove and they don't know what they're talking about. It's easy to do like Susie Q. If I can do it, you can do
Sound check.
Hello.
What you got for us, Preterist? You got some good news, or do you just want to be the center of attention for about 30 minutes?
Oh no. I've got good news.
What is it?
Um, it's what Paul says in First Corinthians chapter 2, verse 2, where he says, "For I do not judge to have perceived anything among you except Jesus Christ, and this one as one having been staked."
Are you telling me that verse 2 actually means something more to you these days than
Oh
it used
yeah.
to?
Yeah.
What caused the change in your appreciating it?
Well, I think it's really important to be able to hold firm in the faith of Christianity versus, like, for example, Catholicism. So Catholics will say, like, oh, well, you also need to have faith in the Pope and in the Virgin Mary and everything. But Paul doesn't teach that. He says that he has judged to have perceived nothing among those in Corinth except Jesus Christ, and this one as one having been staked.
Just for our sake, having been crucified.
Yeah, having been crucified.
Yeah, so use that because we're just not familiar with the word staked. And it's okay to use it. It's a Debar word.
Yeah, it's the Debar.
And it's perhaps a little more accurate, and it's refreshing to hear new words and new ideas, but just for the sake of conversation.
Okay.
We'll talk about Christ and Him crucified.
Yeah, Christ and Him crucified.
Okay. Now, why would this get you excited?
Well, because
After
verse
all this
1
time, I mean, how long you been coming over here? 3 years to pester me?
Yeah, because verse 1 is even more grand when you link it to verse 2. He says, "And I, as one having come to you, brothers, am not according to superiority of word or of wisdom, as one down announcing to you the mystery of the God." That's the good news.
Yeah, man, you might be a new preterist. I'm not quite sure. I'm still cautious. I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Well, I'm just saying this is like this gets me excited here.
Okay, you want to hear my little essay?
Yes.
It's not terribly clever, but it's terribly deep, okay? So go ahead and read it. And I don't know how to improve on it. And I don't know how, I couldn't think of any clever ways to use vocabulary and double entendres and pattern interrupts or anything. It's just something from the heart. Okay, go ahead. Are you there?
Oh yeah, sorry. I'm just getting some water real quick. Okay, sorry.
Okay.
It says Ephesians 1:10 to head up all in the Christ, both that in the heavens and that on the earth.
Go real slow now. This is I think it's special, so that's why I'm asking you to go slow.
Okay.
For my sake, because it's kind of like mind-blowing to me. You might race across it and it means nothing to you, but it's I need you to be slow, because you're like playing Operation. You don't want the buzzer to go off.
So it says Tuesday, February 18th, 2025, 11:42 a.m. 39 degrees now, 42 degrees later. A little rain, maybe. There are clouds along the edge of the valley, so we can't see the mountains. There is something strange and loving about our verse today, dear one. Ephesians 1:10, to head up all in the Christ, both that in the heavens and that on the earth. It speaks of a love gift to Christ. It speaks of what God is doing for Christ. It speaks of the busyness of God.
Hang on. Let's put this word "for" in bold so you'll read it with more emphasis on the word "for." Try it again.
Okay. It speaks of a love gift to Christ. It speaks of what God is doing for Christ. It speaks of the busyness of God. It speaks of the adornment of Christ, how he will look in the future. There is so much movement in this verse. What will Christ look like in the future? He will look like all in the heavens. He will look like all on the earth.
Oh my God. Oh my God. All right, read the verse again. Let's see if I'm making shit up here.
Ephesians 1:10. To head up all in the Christ, both that in the heavens and that on the earth. The word head up might be translated summed up. Why? Because the language of the first century Greek, well, because in the language of the first century Greek,
Did I mess up?
no, I did.
Okay.
They would use this word to put the total of a column of numbers at the top, thus summed up. The action of this verse is to sum up all in the Christ. In that day, there will be nothing else worth looking at. Ephesians 1:10. To head up all in the Christ, both that in the heavens and that on the earth. We often use this verse to argue universal salvation, but I can't but feel that this is not right. Of course, universal salvation is contained in the verse, but there's something more. To head up all in the Christ, both that in the heavens and that on the earth. The larger view of this verse has more to do with glory of Christ and
It should be okay.
the glory of Christ, yeah.
Okay.
And our individual or collective salvation.
Wait. Something's not right. Hang on. Has more to do with the glory of Christ than.
Oh, no.
Okay, now try it.
So the larger view of this verse has more to do with the glory of Christ than our individual or collective salvation.
Isn't that a hell of a sentence?
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. The scope of this verse has everything to do with Christ and hardly has anything to do with us. I mean, the word all shows up right there. All in the heavens and all on the earth. But we're not the scope of this. We're not the target of the verse or the subject of this verse. It is the actions happening to Christ, for Christ. It's almost like he's the birthday child. And everybody's looking at him.
Yeah, he's the birthday boy.
Yeah, let me write that down. Then our individual or collective salvation. Okay, go ahead.
Hold on one moment. I'm sorry. Do something real quick. Where were we here? Where's my screen? Here it is. So the larger view of this verse has more to do with the glory of Christ than our individual or collective salvation. He is the.
Do you understand the importance of that sentence, preterist?
Yeah. All.
Because every Christian channel out there, they're arguing about how they themselves are saved, and you're not saved. Our own personal salvation is irrelevant to a great degree. Yes, we might be saved. Yes, God might save all, but the real point of this is what's going on between God and Christ. There's a big love affair going on between God and Christ.
Mm-hmm.
This is what the entire Bible is about, is the love affair going on between God and Christ. He can't stop looking at his boy. He will give him a name above all names. And then, so can you see why it's really immature to participate in all those people arguing, I'm saved and you're not, and no, I'm saved and you're not.
see.
No, all are saved. Even to say no, all are saved is irrelevant. It's missing the fucking point. The point of verse 10 is all about a full appreciation of what is happening to Christ. All will be headed up in him. Sorry, go ahead. Start with the larger view.
Okay. So, the larger view of this verse has more to do with the glory of Christ than our individual or collective salvation. He is the birthday boy, all eyes are on him. Like a long, white, trailing wedding gown flowing back to the bride, the all who are summed up, headed up, lead back to our darling Lord, the Christ. Remember our teaching on the eons? Well, part of the doctrine of the eons has to do with the fact that aeons is the Greek word, but the Hebrew word is olam, and hidden inside the meaning and usage of olam is the idea of concealment and adornment. Wow, that sounds like a conversation me and Ben Abraham have had before. Now, here in our verse, Ephesians 1:10, to head up all in the Christ, full of that in the heavens and that on the earth. We see not so much concealment, for that was mostly in the past, but now we see adornment. All will adorn him. All will be pointing to the top, the sum of all things. We cannot do this. We cannot head up ourselves into him. This is something God must do for us and in us and with us. Thus, Ephesians 1:10 leads to Ephesians 2:10. His achievement are we.
Oh my God.
Now might be a good time to capture more of Ephesians 1:10, some akin to the context. Making known to us the secret of his will in accord with his delight, which he purposed in him, to have an administration of the complement of the eras, to head up all in the Christ, both that in the heavens and that on the earth.
That's as far as I got. Got any feedback?
Yeah, that's deep, very deep.
So, you and I left off yesterday with the idea that the power of his resurrection. Do you remember? What was the verse?
That was in Colossians 3.
And what's it say again?
It says, or no, not Colossians. They're Philippians 3. Sorry. So in Philippians 3, he says, actually, it's verse 10. We can start at verse 9. It says, and be found in him, not having my righteousness, that out of law, but that through the faithing of Christ, the righteousness out of God, on account of the faithing, that I know him, and the ability of his resurrection, and the communion of his sufferings, as one being shaped together in his death. If somehow I may get into the out resurrection, yea, that out of the died ones.
I had a dream about you last night.
Oh my God. Is that good or bad?
Well, it wasn't technically about you.
Like I wasn't actually in there.
No.
Oh, okay.
But it was about the subject of autism and people on the spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
And the subject of whether or not someone on the spectrum can hold two contradictory thoughts in their head at the same time.
See.
And most of the arguments I hear on this channel from our opposers and when I listen in on Praise I Am or anybody else, it's from people who we might as well say it, they've got a bit of brain damage and they cannot hold two contradictory thoughts in their head at the same time. They just can't do it. They've got one thought, and that is the true thought.
Right.
Remember when a year or two ago when I brought up the story of that lawyer who went around to the jail inmates and said, imagine how you would feel if you didn't have breakfast this morning. And they all, to a man, yelled at him and said, I did have breakfast this morning. They just couldn't imagine
Right.
a contrary thought. And that, change the question, you've got the same argument over at Praise I Am.
Mm-hmm.
They can't hold a contradictory thought in their head.
Yeah. I did ask Paul if he is autistic, and he got very upset, and then he kicked me out.
But you have that also going to some degree.
Oh, I see.
Because you asked me the other day, does the Bible contradict itself? And I said yes, and you act shocked that I said yes.
Yeah.
And it's not that the Bible contradicts itself. It's that we have a lot of problems communicating because there's so much to talk about. First of all, you got to have a translation. And does the translation do a hack job on the whole thing? Every translation, we could say they're doing the best they can with the thoughts they have. But, the vast majority of translations are discordant. They hack away at the word aeon and olam and suke and nephesh. And so the resulting English translation makes it look like there are contradictions.
Right.
Okay, that solves one problem. And then there's the problem of, let's say we got a pretty good cleaned up translation. Let's say, pretend. Tell me how you'd feel if you didn't have breakfast this morning. But I did have breakfast this morning. Okay, let's say we got a translation, a really good one. And we still find a verse or two that sounds like a contradiction. What's the deal? Well, quite often, it's two different audiences with two different styles of communicating and receiving communication. One cool thing about StreamYard is that we have, you see this now, you and me?
Mm-hmm.
We have the talking heads.
Yep.
And over here, we have the side chat.
Here they are.
We have the title of the show.
At the
We
top.
have comments afterwards. There's all kinds of ways to communicate. In the side chat, they only have 200 characters to paste in their idea. Sometimes ideas are too big for 200 characters. So is there a contradiction? No. They were just doing the best they could with the tools they had. So they had to shorten up the word. They had to leave a comma out. Is there a contradiction in those side chatters? Maybe. They're trying to express something. Is there contradictions in the Bible? It would only be if you're looking for a fight and looking for contradictions. Oh, God damn, you can find them all over the place. But if you're looking for joy and revelation, why, surely you can find that too.
Well, yeah, you can make the Bible say anything that you want.
That's true.
Yeah.
But so let's see if we can build one another up to the point where we teach them to look for the joy. I mean, I kind of have gingerly tried to do that with Eric because he is hell-bent on finding bad news in the Bible. To the point where he accuses me of only looking for the good news. You know, it is a mental illness, a thing, among psychologists. Universally, they say if you want to be mentally ill, you have to do 3 things at once. You have to overlook the good, number 1. You have to overlook the good. Number 2, you have to focus on the bad. Number 3, you have to exaggerate the importance of the bad. And this is what the Christians are doing by and large when they blather on about hell and permanent annihilation. They're overlooking the good, which is the ultimate good in the Bible, is the revelation of God and Christ on the cross, and then God raising him from the dead as the perfect demonstration of his power and the beginning of his power, but certainly not the end of his power. So this is the good. The cross is the good. The cross is universal salvation. The cross is everything the heart of man could hope for. This is the good. I asked Eric, can he see this? Can he talk about it? And the best Eric can give us is that the cross is the excuse God's going to burn you in hell forever. So I might say that guy is practicing mental illness. If we could get him to stop doing those 3 things at the same time, overlooking the good, focusing on the bad, and exaggerating the importance of the bad, maybe he can enter into some joy that he's never known before. When I first came to believe that God was the Savior of all, I didn't even know there was a weight on my shoulders, a weight of guilt. You know what it was about?
No.
Well, all through the 60s and 70s, I felt guilty if I'd go into a crowded movie theater, and not preach to them, because they might go to hell. I never did interrupt a movie theater, but I felt guilty that I walked out of there and those people could go to hell. But come 1980, when I finally stumbled on 1 Timothy 4:10, I really felt a wonderful weight being taken off my shoulders.
Mm.
So does the Bible contradict? Okay, what if you want to find contradictions? I'm sure you can do it. And is the Bible full of verses which you can use to brag about yourself? Apparently, because a lot of people do that, They come up with verses inferring free will, and then they, are so proud to have found the verses inferring free will because they have used their own free will to pull themselves up by the bootstraps, and now they are saved, but you're not. Let's look at this little essay again. Go ahead.
Well, I often think that Paul was dealing with those same problems back in
Oh, God, yes.
40 AD.
Yeah, because humanity hasn't changed yet. God, it's not their time.
Yeah. People are just goofy.
And God will change them all in good time. But for right now, this is man's day. The day of the Lord is coming, and then the day of God is coming. But right now, it's man's day. And this is a phrase we find in 1 Corinthians. That Paul says, I will not be judged by man's day. So it's kind of an interesting little phrase to banty about, like we know what he's talking about.
Yeah, it's interesting because the day of the God only appears twice.
I know. So, and man's day only appears once in the New Testament. The day of the Lord shows up a number of times, quite a number of times. But there, not that we have to talk about that, because I want to read this essay again.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I have to actually leave, but it was good hopping in for the 30 minutes or so I was here.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
See you later.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye. To head up all in the Christ, both that in the heavens and that on the earth. There is something strange and loving about our verse today, dear one. To head up all in the Christ, both that in the heavens and that on the earth. It speaks of a love gift to Christ. It speaks of what God is doing for Christ. To head up all in the Christ. It speaks of what God is doing for Christ. It speaks of the busyness of God. It speaks of the adornment of Christ, how he will look in the future. There is so much movement in this verse. What will Christ look like in the future? He will look like all in the heavens. He will look like all on the earth. The word head up might be translated summed up. Let's make that bold. Why? Because the language of the first century Greek, or in the language of the first century Greek, they would use this word to put the total of a column of numbers at the top. Thus, summed up. The action of this verse is to sum up all in the Christ. In that day, there will be nothing else to look at. We often use this verse to argue a universal salvation, but I can't but feel that that is not quite right. Not quite right, so that's what we'll do. Of course, universal salvation is contained in the verse, but there is something more. The larger view of this verse has more to do with the glory of Christ than our individual or collective salvation. He is the birthday boy. All eyes are on him. Like a long white trailing wedding gown flowing back to the bride. The all who are summed up, headed up, lead back to our darling Lord, the Christ. Remember our teaching on the eons? Well, part of the doctrine of the eons has to do with the fact that eons is the Greek word, but the Hebrew word is olam, and hidden inside the meaning and usage of olam is the idea of concealment and adornment. Now here in our verse, to head up all in the Christ, both that in the heavens and that on the earth, we see not so much concealment, for that was mostly in the past, but now we can see adornment. All will adorn him. All will be pointing to the top, the sum of all things. We cannot do this. We cannot head up ourselves into him. This is something God must do for us, and in us, and with us. And thus Ephesians 1:10 leads us to Ephesians 2:10. His achievement are we. His achievement are we. Now might be a good time to capture more of Ephesians 1:10, something akin to the context. And let me bump up the size here, baby. And then we can bail out of here. Ephesians 1:9, making known to us the secret of his will, in accord with his delight, which he purposed in him, to have an administration, the complement of the eras, to head up all in the Christ, both that in the heavens and that on the earth. Okay, boys and girls. That's all I got. Give me a thumbs up if you liked it. And tell everyone you know. This is a short one, 1 hour and 14 minutes. I'll put in the after show link right about now. See if you want to come in and say hello. Okay, grace to you. Toodaloo, toodaloo.